Hello everyone, and yes, my hair is a little fluffy because it is raining here. Anyway, humidity just makes it curl. Welcome to another banner review with me. So, today we are going to be talking about the Final Fantasy Tactics banner, the fourth Final Fantasy Tactics events. And yet, Final Fantasy VI has only had, like, one banner. Well, guess it sucks to be a Final Fantasy VI fan. Hell, even 7 has more banners than you. Although not 8. Anyway, we're getting off track. Are these units any good? Well, I've taken a look at the data, and I've got to say that, if nothing else, I really like this banner. I don't know if I'd say I like it more than last month's, but I definitely like this banner personally. So let's just get right into it and talk about it. First of all, let's talk about our 3-star character. Or, well, this guy might actually not be TMR fodder, especially for new accounts. So this guy is basically what is defined as a magic liquid metal slime. Liquid metal slime is considered to be basically just the best tank because he can take a ton of damage. He has a few problems fundamentally, but you know, it's just kind of amazing. This guy is very much the same except for magic. Now he has a materia that is minus 20% attack and magic, but plus 30% to defense and spirit. Great for tanks, especially if you have CG Segheart. I would really recommend it. His limit burst is a magic attack, which uses all of his spirit stat as magic. That's really good, and also gives a self 2-turn 40% damage reduction. 40% for 2 turns. That's really good. He has a counter for physical damage, and of course he has the ability to defend against allies. It costs 120 MP, but it is an 80% chance to defend allies from magic damage, reducing 20%. Okay, that kind of hurts. Self 1 turn plus 50% defense and spirit. Okay. And self 1 turn 15% magic damage reduction. So this guy might be great for brand new accounts who need a magic tank off the bat. He's kind of cool. He's kind of cute. He has some neat abilities that use his defense and spirit in terms of his for his damage calculation. So I gotta say, if nothing else, I just like this little robot. Yeah. Moving on, next is Riez. Now, Riez's Trust Mastery is a 40% magic and 30% to fire, ice, thunder resistance. Generally, just strong materia. But what's interesting is Riez's base magic at a 6-star, which is 242 plus an extra 30 points. That is an incredibly high magic stat for a 4-star base. If you are starting a brand new account, or if you're hurting for magic damage dealers, 2 Riez's are really good. Her limit burst maxed out at a 6-star is a 600% AoE 1-hit light magic attack, ignoring 50% spirit, and debuffs fire, ice, and thunder resistance for a max of 74%. Pretty good, again, for new accounts. You're doing that kind of damage, you're pretty much going to be wanting it. In her kit, she has some self-recovery abilities, some extra magic, some nice chaining abilities with a 20-hit ice magic at 10 frames that stacks damage, as well as an AoE buff for the party, as well as some plus 15% physical damage versus dragons, and 3-turn 15% magic. So she can buff the party with killers too, which is pretty neat. Thunder, ice, and fire resistance, naturally at 50%, which is really good, even taking her into Omega maybe. She has a 20-hit fire chaining ability, a 20-hit thunder chaining ability that stack magic damage too. She has extra damage versus beasts as well as birds and dragons. So I gotta say, this girl is actually really impressive for a 4-star base. Considering what 4-star bases normally look like, this is pretty cool. I gotta say, Riez, probably just the best 4-star base, period. I would say at this point. You know, minusing special rules, but for power level, she's kind of surprising. Now we get to the real crux of the matter, which is our 5 stars. So first is Beowulf, a character who is definitely, I think, pretty popular and pretty well remembered. So his Trust Mastery, 40% attack, 20% HP and MP, Super Trust Mastery, Great Sword, 168 attack, 127 magic. Great stats on that. Now, himself, he has a pretty good amount of HP as well as MP. Attack is a 198 base with an extra 50 points, but since he's a hybrid, it doesn't really matter that much. Magic is 194 plus an extra 50 points, and he gets 50 points extra into defense and spirit. So all around, pretty damn good, decent, rounded character. Equipment-wise, he has fairly decent options, considering that he is a hybrid unit. And his limit burst, maxed out at a 7-star, is a 3200% single target, one-hit hybrid attack, with a 3-turn debuff maxed out at 74% to all stats to a single enemy. Very strong hybrid attack that also, does a very great debuff, and it only costs 28 limit burst crystals, so it's not too bad to get filled. Magic-wise, he has Kiraga and Raise. Excuse me for a second, I really don't want to split up this video, so I just have to check something real quick. I heard a weird sound. There may or may not be storm damage outside. Anyway, so let's give the things I really like about Beowulf's Gift. For one, he has 10% chance to dodge physical attacks naturally. That's great. A buffer and damage dealer that can give himself some evade? Cool, no problem. He has abilities to drain MP as well as HP and self 3-turn buff himself 100% for attack and magic or defense and spirit. Okay. In his kit, he has some nice passives for all of his stats, making him pretty well-rounded. He can debuff ice resistance, dark resistance. He has some light resistance, 5% MP per turn. He has all of the, single target, 3-turn debuffs of defense, spirit, magic, as well as thought attack was in there somewhere. Maybe I missed it. But it also pluses 20% to his stats too. So that's kind of interesting. That's basically like CG Lit. He has extra physical and magical damage versus humans and dragons. He can single target dispel buffs and debuffs, and single target 3-turn add debuffs again. So that's really interesting. For 60 MP, basically dispel, then apply buffs. That's really, really strong. If you consider that some enemies will, one unit being able to do both of those roles kind of takes some pressure off your healers. I kind of like that about this guy. A single target 70% attack debuff, 3-turn minus 60% attack, 5-turn minus 50%. So this is the degrading thing, where basically for turn 1, it's a big debuff. For the next 3 turns, it's a smaller debuff. And the next turn, it's a bigger debuff. Or smaller debuff, sorry. Same he can do for light resistance, 100% at first, 75%, and 50%. So this is kind of what we saw with Machina. And Machina was fairly high rated. He did have some chaining skills, but we'll get into that in a second. From there, he has some skills that will also debuff 60% and 50% and 40% as kind of a full turn or all stats debuff to the enemies. Has Confuse on it too, but status effects are really not what we're looking at here. He has the ability to double cast a lot of his abilities. He has, a really cool couple of chaining abilities that are at, one that's at 8 hits, 6 frames, one that's at 8 hit at 10 frames, hybrid attacks that do 1800% damage, and also give himself extra damage versus dragons or humans the next turn. So that's really useful. Human killers have been popping up a lot lately, and those are turned out to be super useful in a lot of fights, so that's okay. By equipping his own TMR, he gets an extra 30% HP and MP, 100% ailment resistance, which is really good for a debuffer, 30% attack when dual wielding, 30% magic when dual wielding. So basically, this guy's a dual wielding unit. He's not true dual hand. From there, 30% extra attack, 100% full limit burst fill rate, and a available 6-turn on a 5-turn cooldown, 5,400% AoE 12 hit attack at 12 frames hybrid attack. that is an insanely high percentage. That is a chaining skill. And the last time we saw a high percentage at a chaining skill was kind of CG Hayu's limit burst. So this might be really strong. It's 120 MP. You have to wait a while, but hey, that's really strong. Now, his other cooldown ability, available turn 1, 5-turn cooldown, is turn 1, 74% debuff for all stats to the enemy, turn 2, 70%, turn 3, 60%, and has some ability to cause some status effects, but the big thing are his debuffs. Extra defense, extra damage versus humans and dragons, extra magic and spirit. Here's the thing about Beowulf. In general, I like Beowulf. He's really, really strong hybrid unit that just happens to have a ton of breaking things. If Orin was the chaining, well, this guy could be chaining too, because he's dual wielding and hitting at 8 hits at 6 frames. That's the CG Reagan family of chaining, which is another very strong chaining family that is getting bigger and bigger every week or every banner, it seems, lately. So, long story short, this guy has a lot of chaining partners. Hold on a second. Needed to collect my damn thoughts. Here's the thing that bugs me about him, and I could be mistaken on this, but this was my impression. First of all, I thought that he was supposed to have the highest debuffs in the game, which is not true to my knowledge. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that CG Lid, or Heavenly Tech Lid, or whatever the hell she's called on the global side, Heavenly Technician. Anyway, her limit burst still does a 79% debuff to attack, defense, magic, and spirit, meaning that Alum was wrong. Alum lied. These are not the biggest debuffs in the game. As a matter of fact, they are pretty much the same standard as Orin, which we saw last month. So Alum lied, as far as I can tell. And that's not to say anything bad about Beowulf. Beowulf is potentially better because he has a natural status ailment resistance. He has ability to regain MP, which is something that it doesn't have. He has natural dodge. He can also do a shit ton of damage, as well as he has many different ways to debuff the enemy. So I gotta say, I think that in general, Beowulf is a very strong kit, with a glaring thing that the status ailments are totally fucking useless in his kit. They're all single target. They all really won't do absolutely anything against bosses. They shouldn't be there almost. I guess it's kind of maybe in the future a boss might be weak to a status effect, in which case this guy will be really good. But I mean, I don't have any really big complaints against Beowulf. He's a very, very strong character that just happens to have great debuffs and chaining abilities, kind of akin to what Orin had last month. So in general, perfectly fine, have no problems with him, thumbs up. But last but not least is Ultima, and I'm going to say 100% now that Ultima is the real prize of this banner, 100%. First, her Trust Mastery is 30% magic when equipped with a hat, 30% magic when equipped with robes. Great. Her Super Trust Mastery is a dagger, 98 attack, 167 magic, and a up percentage for any of her Ultima abilities, 75% for one, 150% for another, or a couple others, and 200% for one. That's really important because it will essentially make her a very strong, basically her Super Trust Mastery is meant for her and will do a lot for her too, probably. And to compare her just in terms of raw stats, before we talk about her limit burst, I just want to find and bring up our beloved goddess Ellie. Ultima's base magic at a 7-star is 219 points with an extra 65 points. Maria was 210 with an extra 65. Ellie was 219 with 65. Ellie is considered to be one of the strongest mages in the game. Therefore, 100% Ultima is going to be pushing those same kind of stats that Ellie is. Cool. super strong. Now, limit burst wise, maxed out at a 7 stars of 1350% AoE one-hit magic attack, ignoring 50% spirit, so it's a much stronger magic ability than it seems at that first percentage. Okay. And it also gives her quadricasting of a lot of her abilities for 3 turns. Now, that's great. That's a long time of quadricasting, and it's super good. Magic spell-wise, she has Ultima, Firaja, Blizaja, Thandaja, Dispelga, Curaga, and Full Life. So this girl has a lot of options and is super flexible. Kind of reminds me of Transterra, except just better quality spells. So if she had a top-level healing spell, I would say you could almost use her as a healer, but we're not quite there. Either way, AOL Dispelga is a great thing to have on as many units as possible, so here it's perfectly fine. And as it turns out, she has natural dual cast in her kit, so she can double cast white, black, or green magic. That's very good, but that's not enough. She also has dual wield. We actually have a real villain here who probably might be just a top tier unit. That's great. You basically free up a slot by not having to put dual wield on this girl. And her impressive, she has a pretty good range of equipment too, with rods, swords, and daggers, since her dagger is really good, as well as projectiles, whips. So there's a good range of equipment that you can put on her. From there, she has just some natural damage modifiers right from the get-go. 20% MP, 30% MP, lots of MP right off the go. 100% earth resistant, so Golem probably is not going to like this girl very much. 475% dark magic attack, 30% spirit, and a 1 forever 10% magic damage reduction, so that's pretty good. She's more durable. An AoE one hit 150% that ignores 50% defense and hits multiple turns after. For 3 turns after, it'll just keep hitting the enemy, and that's pretty cool. Long-term value. 20% HP, immunity to silence, confuse, and virus. Autocast, natural HP and MP recovery per turn. 1200 HP per turn ain't bad either for a mage. From there, she has a 48 MP, 300% AoE, 12 hit at 12 frames, wind magic attack that debuffs the enemy for 75% wind resistance. This I believe is the Ellie chaining ability that they talked about earlier. I just want to double check and see. I'm in the Ellie category. No, Ellie's is 5 frames. Sorry, 12 hits is someone else, but still being able to debuff wind, pretty nice. Pretty nice. 20% chance to counter either physical or magical once per turn, which I think just gives herself a 50 MP recovery and 150% magic for the next turn. So buffs herself, gives herself some MP. Great. From there, 450% single target 8 hit at 6 frames. So she can chain with Beowulf, I guess. And debuffs fire, ice, and thunder resistance of 60%. That's pretty strong. 50% increase to magic, 20% chance to naturally dodge magic attack, dual wielding or dual casting some of her abilities in her kit naturally. And now we get into her 7-star. So on her 7-star, available turn 1, her cooldown ability, 3-turn cooldown, single target, 1 turn, 80% debuff to spirit, and a single target afterwards. This is the degrading buff. So at first 80%, then 70%, then 60%. 60% is on for like 5 turns. So the degrading buffs is pretty nice here, but it also uses a drain of MP too. So it gives herself MP and debuffs. Basically, this is, I'm getting ready to fire my laser. Her other cooldown ability, 99 MP, 3-turn cooldown, is a 3-turn AoE 200% limit burst fill rate increase for the party, AoE fill of 70.5 crystals, and for 2 turns gains quadricast. So just a strong opening move, nothing really much to say. Equipping her own TMR will give her 30% magic as well as auto use of Ultima, the nice body. I'm going to assume that translation is correct. And she gets her Quadracast on turn 4. She also has the ability of a 100% chance to ignore one fatal attack when her HP is above 30% and 60% extra magic when dual wielding. So there's no reason not to equip her own TMR. There's just no reason. From there, in her 7-star, she gets a W ability for her 7-star abilities. She has 78 MP, 600% AoE, 5 hit, 20 frames. This is the ability that stacks up to 1850%. This is the ability that chains with Ellie's wind attack. And the only problem here is, like I thought, it doesn't have wind element on it. So chaining it might be a little bit difficult. Or you won't get as much as just double Ellie's. But that being said, 1850% chaining with that wind ability should still be pretty strong. And if you can ever find a way to put wind on this girl and it sticks to her abilities, then no problem. From there, 110 MP, available turn 4, 3-turn cooldown, 1100% AoE 1-hit magic attack, ignoring 50% spirit, and 100% chance to cause poison, blind, silence, paralysis, confuse, virus, and petrify. Very, very strong. Next up, available turn 1 on a 19-turn cooldown for 128 MP. 19 turns, Jesus. AoE Dispel buffs and AoE allies dispel debuffs. Quite possibly this is the lid ability to the next level. 19 turn cooldown means that you're going to be waiting forever to use it again, but if you use it when it counts, dispelling all buffs on the enemy and debuffs on yourself is insanely powerful for an ability. 50% extra magic, 30% spirit, 20% MP, 20% extra magic, and damage modifiers for her abilities as like she needed it, and an increased chance to counter by 2 times. So, this has been a long video, so let's just summarize really quickly. Very, 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 very great banner for new players and possibly old players too, depending on how dry you are. First of all, I gotta say, the little guy seems like a just great, new guy's first magic tank. Super good, nothing to complain about there. Riez is just probably the most powerful 4-star in the game. And for clearing old trials, for a magic user, she'll probably do the job very nicely. Matter of fact, she could probably tear through Bahamut pretty quickly with, even decent equipment. Beowulf, incredibly strong hybrid damage dealer that probably isn't for new accounts, but if you were a brand new account who needs a debuffer, there's nothing wrong with getting this guy. Long-term accounts, if you have Orin, you're probably safe. If you decided not to go for Orin like me, and maybe you're looking for another option to CG Lid, this guy's really good. If nothing else, for equipping his own TMR, getting up all status effect resistance is just very good. Very good. Not even mentioning how much damage this guy could potentially dish out in a party with 2 chainers, or if he's even one of the chainers. He's pretty flexible. His status effects are useless, and I think they will pretty much always be useless. But he has some good stuff in him for sure, and most of it is in his 7-star, I think. But Limit Burst is solid too. Ultima is just fantastic. Super strong mage, lots of good stuff in her kit. Very powerful, works great with Ellie, who is already a top-tier magic damage dealer. So, well, I would say that really, really, really happy with this banner. And yeah, I'll definitely be going with it. At first, when I read about Beowulf, wasn't super happy, but now that I've read a little bit more, I think he is a really solid unit that I just probably didn't understand at first. His kit is more complicated. I would say Ultima's is just more straightforward power. The only other thing I want to mention is that in Ultima's kit, it seems like she has enough passives that you could equip her really easily to get to the 400% and still have 2 materia slots open. That's insane. All you really need to do is just get the wind element on her attacks, and she's good. And who knows, maybe that CG Wind Veritas is coming the next banner and will complete the puzzle. We'll see. Anyway, hope this helped you decide whether you wanted to go on this banner or not. I will see you in the next video. Till then.